right, guys. Hello and welcome to the Guest Life Podcast, episode 51. Who would have thunk it? Not me, but here we are. We are welcomed here today with one of my best friends and incredible entrepreneur, Shawn Mount. He's the president and owner of Dynamic Heating and Cooling, located in Hamilton. Does some incredible work in the community. And we're going to find out all about him today. So welcome, Shawn.
Dan, thanks for having me, buddy. It's always a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to see you, man. And I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be number 51, man.
That's it. So just before we get started, guys, again, thank you so much for tuning in. When we started the podcast, I was just hoping that my mom would tune in once or twice. But, we get a lot of people checking us out, following us. Again, can't believe we're sponsored by Jobber now and getting our name out there in the industry and really kind of bridging the gap for local entrepreneurs and people that are thinking about taking that next step. So we're gonna dive into again, one of my best friends, and this guy's awesome. So hearing his story. So Shawn, tell us a little bit about Shawn. How did you're obviously president and owner of Dynamic. How'd you get started, man?
It's number one. Thanks again for having me here. Excited to follow up after Derek Doyle. This is actually the first time that I'd listen to your podcast, and it's overwhelming. So I just want to say right off the bat, friend to friend, colleague to a colleague. The show's awesome, and appreciate being here. About me, we started Dynamic 5 years ago. Before that, there was a Shawn Mount. There was a Life and Time prior to that. In high school, I always had an entrepreneurial background. Always liked my hands moving some things around. The trade life is how I started. Yeah. And, to be perfectly honest with you, in high school, I took a different path. I didn't know that my life would even, be where I am today. Yeah. And I think it's an important part about who I am. And I think it's an important part about any entrepreneur in terms of, you can make mistakes, you can hit road bumps, but it's not going to define who you end up being. And, I took a different path in the beginning of my life, and it took a real bad negative for me to divert my life into something really positive. I started out with the house flipping thing. You remember those days, right?
The house, the blue truck.
Can you get 10 of your buddies over and, cases of beer and some pizzas and help you dig a foundation in the middle of winter?
So just for context, guys, because this is, I know a lot about Shawn that the viewers don't know. So bring him back. Where and what was the price of that first house that you bought?
So the first house was on Goggin Street. This is Parkdale and Barton. This is a sweet view of the beer store right there on the corner.
This is before David Goggins, right?
That's correct. Yeah. I think it's got some more value to it now. So that house, actually, I drive by it all the time because some of our suppliers are down in that area, so I never forget. That was the starting point. $76,000 is what it was listed for, ladies and gentlemen.
And what year was this?
This is going back, I was 20 and I'm 34 now.
14 years.
So we're talking a long time ago, and I remember distinctly. That's a memory that you never forget. When I went to go look at that house, I was obviously new to real estate, and I just actually, that classic story, opened up the Yellow Pages. For the younger viewers, they have no idea what the Yellow Pages is, but opened up the Yellow Pages, picked up a real estate agent, called that guy. Yeah. Very, very lucky that person was a good human, and he diverted me from a lot of bad properties.
Really?
Which, a guy who didn't know anything about anything, if he was looking for the first dollar, not the long-term investment, he could have sold me anything. You go back and forth trying to buy a property. This one didn't land. That one didn't land. Finally, December of, I guess, like I say, 11 years ago, a cold winter day, I call him and I say, hey, I found this property down on Goggin Street. It's listed for $76,000. What do you think? He goes, you know what? This one actually isn't bad. He goes, the only thing is I'm out of town. So you're going to have to go with my partner and you go meet him. So we're okay. I meet this guy that I've never met before. My nerves are already a little strung. This is going to be a new thing. I'm putting this offer again down on paper. And I said to him, you know what? Let's just put $60,700 on paper. I don't know why 700, but this is the number that we're going to go with. So at that time, this is when you used to have to drive to a house and you would wait outside, and there's 6 or 7 other people there. And I said to him, well, what's going to happen now as we're sitting in his minivan with the heat on in December? And he goes, well, what's going to happen is they're going to present the offer on paper, and then the agent's going to come out, and they're going to start walking up to vehicles, and you're going to see people leaving. At this time, I'm in a minivan. There's a H2 Hummer with a big Remax all over it. There's some big construction vehicles. And I remember saying to him, who's the guy in the Remax Hummer over there? He goes, oh, that guy? Oh, that guy, that's all this guy does. He does this all the time. And I go, okay. So now we're sitting there, and the guy comes out and he starts seeing vehicles leaving, and this person's leaving, and that person's leaving, and I'm going, oh man, now it's between me and this guy that does it all the time. So I'm going, please come up to me and tell me that we didn't get the house. I don't want this house, not me, please, not me. Guy comes over and goes, hey buddy, guess what? You got the house. I'm turning next to this perfect stranger. I have no idea. He's telling me congratulations. The whole drive home back to my parents' house was. It was a very humbling experience, very terrifying. It's, you go from a complete happy place to a complete I'm scared and terrified place.
Yeah.
And as you know, the house worked out. We got it done, and I couldn't have done it without my family. My family, nothing but support there. And then that led the way for my entrepreneurial start to it. Man,
between, if I can remember correctly, between what, 20 and 25, how many houses were you flipping?
It's in the 20s, high 20s, low 30s. Yeah,
it's incredible.
It's been a fun ride, and that got me started into the whole kind of running your business. Right, you got to worry about the numbers, you got to worry about your profit, your losses, things of that nature.
So how organized was that at the beginning?
You know what? I had that calculator with the roller on there that my mom had from the TD Bank, and it was it was you definitely learned some things.
Yeah.
In terms of value, you didn't make a lot of dollars per se, but you learned a lot in experience. Mm-hmm. So that started the whole thing. Got into HVAC. Did my apprenticeship, and that was great. And I knew the whole time that I was gonna, as soon as I got my apprenticeship, that I would go out on my own. And I would jump in a van, and I did. Right after I finished, it was me and Ryan Ramsey. Obviously, Ryan Ramsey. It was me and him in a van. We started out, and we ended up in 5 years, we grew it to about 13 vehicles on the road now.
It's incredible, man.
Yeah, it's been fun.
So taking it back a little bit, because I remember there was a key point that I remember me and you talked through, which was you were a gas technician. Which for everybody out there, there's different levels of apprenticeship where gas is more of a license, not an apprenticeship. And you had that opportunity to go back to school, but you started even further back on the pay scale, right?
That's right. Yeah.
You took that little kind of back step to kind of jump forward.
That's right. Yeah. I decided to walk away from a company that had given me great support, and he had helped me out along the way. But I knew that I had to do something different and get that apprenticeship. So I did take a couple step back. I started my apprenticeship, a little bit later than what I would have thought.
How old were you then?
That time I think I was 25. So still a great age to get into it. The whole kicking yourself in the butt a little bit, saying, oh, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but that's not how it goes. So I started it back at 25. I got it when I was, 30. I finished it up and then headed out on my own, and took the pay scale a little less, and it all works out, right? You're paying it forward.
Yeah. Well, I think that's so humbling, right? Like, you've been flipping houses, making great dough. You're making more your money probably doing your own thing than you are in the trade.
Yep.
But still willing to do that to kind of put yourself forward, and then ultimately, you need those tickets and those licenses to be able to run a proper, safe company.
That's right. I think, guys like us, and we understand that it's not about getting paid today. It's about the investment for the future, and understanding that, if you're in it for the quick buck, or you're in it for the immediate, happiness, mm-hmm. then you're not going to succeed, right? It's long term. It's about growth. It's about seeing 5 years from now and understanding that nothing good happens today. You got to build on that. That's what life, I think, is all about, right?
Do you remember when I remember back in the day I was working right beside, you're the first year, you're the second year apprentice, and you're the one slaving away and digging or climbing something or doing all the grunt work.
Yeah.
And you're standing beside the journeyman who's doing nothing.
That's right, yeah.
And you're like, why is this guy getting paid $15 more than me? I can't believe it's going to take 5 years. And I think, how does it feel now looking back? Like, doesn't that 5 years just fly by?
It flies by quick, and you start getting appreciation and understanding for what that guy's done. He's paid his dues. He's done everything that you're already doing and probably more.
Yeah.
Right? A guy like you, a guy like me, it's, we'll never ask somebody to do something that we haven't already done. And I kind of base my whole life on that. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to tell you to do something that I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole, good journeyman and a good apprentice, they'll instantly connect with one another and have that understanding right away. And and then they'll get to that point and they'll pass on that same thing. One thing I wanted to touch on too, and I was thinking about over here in terms of the whole trade and this whole career path that, we're all on. I think here in Canada, you know, we haven't given enough love to the tradespeople out there, and it's a very, very pride thing to be having, man. Like it's great to be a tradesperson, right? There's great financial benefit to being a tradesperson, and just a very satisfying thing. So I think that's one thing that you know, all the tradespeople should recognize too.
Yeah, 100%. I remember. I mean, I failed shop in high school, and auto mechanic, and I wasn't handy at all. and you're no good at it at the beginning. And I think that's where a lot of the conversation around education at the early stages, when they talk about, well, what are you passionate about, or what do you love? It's like, well, you're not going to love anything or have a passion for something that you suck at.
That's right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh man, I'm just really passionate about this drill not drilling properly, or you know, this auger getting caught in a wood bit.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
You know, for a lot of people now, when you're the person that somebody calls and you have the solution to their problem, you know, you have the capability to teach and train. Someone's asking you a question. Like, there's no better feeling now than, I'm sure, for you. Like, how many apprentices have you signed up?
Yeah, we got
sent to school.
Yeah, we got 5. Ryan, he's probably the furthest ahead. He was here day one. He was the first to get signed, and he's going now back to intermediate right now.
It's incredible.
You know, he's made a whole career out of it, and I don't think that he knew at the point where he started here that that's what he wanted to do. And I think if you were to ask him now, I think he's got a great deal of passion for it. I think that it's grown his life in a positive way.
Totally.
And I'm excited that I was a part of it. You know, a great satisfying feeling when you know that, you know, you've helped somebody better themselves. Like there's nothing like it, right? It's not all about the paychecks. You know, it's those little moments that make you feel good at home. You know.
Yeah. When you walk in and you see everybody that you employ, and you know, it's not about you doing it just for them, but being able to touch and feel the fact that the paychecks are created because you took the opportunity to get out there. Would they have a job somewhere else? Of course. But they don't. They have a job with you and your company. And as the organization grows, you know, dynamic, I've seen it blossom as a huge thing. Like, I don't know if you guys are driving around Hamilton, but you're going to see the trucks everywhere now. They're massive, and there's so many of them.
Yeah.
You know, it's great to see. What's changed over the last couple of years in dynamic, just in terms of from being an entrepreneur on the tools to maybe like an owner operator, and now, you know, running an organization with 13 vehicles, and how many staff do you have now?
It's we're about 18 right now.
It's amazing.
It's been a journey, you know. It's one thing I always say is that, you know, some days you're the dog and some days you're the hydrant, and it can change in a matter of a few phone calls. But I think that's why we do it, and we wouldn't do it for anybody else. You know, the kicks, the punches, the highs, the lows, it's all fun, right? I've always said, if you offer me double the money to do what I'm doing for somebody else, the answer would be no. Yeah. You know, I'm happy with the journey. I'm happy with there being no right or wrong. It's our way to make it and figure it out, and if it works, great, and if it doesn't, well, then we're gonna try it again in a different manner and see how that goes. Amazing. Another cool thing for me is, as you know, I was really, really blessed that my mom, she now works with me. Amazing. You know, my grumpy dad, he's there in the shop 3 days a week. You know, sometimes you ask him to do something and you get told no, but you know, that's been really, 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 really great for me. And then, you know, I met my partner and then the love of my life, Sarah, there. Yeah. And that was fantastic too. So the whole business, the whole thing of it, community and all that, it's just great. Yeah, and look at the partnerships that you've been able to create through that journey, right? How has business changed over the years in the sense of, look, technology, skill set, learning? You know, what's stuck out to you as a big eye opener that maybe you didn't think was going to happen when you started? I think one of the biggest things right now, you know, is this Canada Home rebate programs really changed our industry up quite a bit. Yeah. You know, the typical gas furnace and air conditioners kind of hitting the way of the road. I know we've had a couple, you know, conversations about it, colleague to colleague, HVAC to HVAC, and I think that's been a really game changer for the industry and for Canada in general, like getting off fossil fuel, you know, energy efficiency. I think Canada's really doing a great job of leading that way. So, I mean, that's been a huge industry change for us. Yeah, it's wild, eh? It is. It's huge, yeah. And it's just going to continue to keep going that way. Elon. Yeah. Gotta get on. Gotta get with Elon. That's not a matter of time before he develops something, for sure. Yeah. No, it's interesting because people talk about the trades as just such a
I wouldn't say they've got a bad rep. I just think they've got maybe
it's the image of the
technology, not as technology based, but I mean, I remember the concept when we opened our HVAC division, just the difference in technicians. Like I'm a blunt plumber, right? I can sling pipe. That's it.
Yeah.
Technical controls, electrical. I don't know how to wire a switch, and I've done that on purpose so that I don't have to wire a switch.
That's right. Yeah.
On the HVAC side, it's so technical. There's so many components, so many tests, so much wiring and diagrams that you have to understand.
It's a multi-trade. You're doing electrical, especially when you get in the service side of things. You're doing more electrical than you are anything else. Reading diagrams, like you said, using a meter is a bigger part of versus a pipe wrench. A lot of diversity in the trade. You're running some water for hot water tanks. You're doing piping. You're doing electrical. So, yeah, the guys that are doing it, super intelligent individuals, very, very intelligent individuals out there.
I'm so excited to announce that the Guest Life podcast is brought to you by Jobber. Jobber is a field service software that I use daily to make my business run better and more efficiently. From quoting a job to the minute you get paid, Jobber software makes it seamless to go from start to finish and make sure that everybody has all the things they need to make sure the job's done right and you're paid faster. Jobber software is the best home service software that helped us scale and take our business to the next level. Check out the link in our bio for a free 14-day trial and 20% off your first 6 months. Thanks and enjoy the show.
Dynamic, right? Like I know besides the fact that you tell everybody to have a dynamic day when you get off the phone with them, when you were creating a company, because I know it felt really special for us, what felt special to you about creating something different with dynamic, like in terms of getting out of the norm?
I think for me, just the, being able to do it my way and my way only in some terms, not, it's a team around you, but just making those decisions and being able to do it in a different approach than what, the classic sales guy coming to your house and trying to sit you down and get you to sign on the dotted line for a rental or something like that. I think about the ability to give people the option and truly treating people like a customer care business should be.
Yeah.
One thing I always say is that if I wouldn't put it in my home, I won't put it into yours. And I think that goes a long way with just anything in life. Like, you know what I mean? Treating anything like that and not, being worried about the dollar today. And I think that's one thing that I've been able to do and doing it in a fun way. And that's what's been the greatest part. Maybe unorthodox, maybe the ways, you know what I mean? But I think that's the best part of it.
I love that. Yeah, I remember back in the day for so many years, people were so concerned about contractors. Don't let anybody in your home.
That's right, yeah.
You got to worry about getting ripped off and people not showing up and getting deposits. I find now with technology, Google, and communication, like you can't get away with anything. And it allows people that are trying to get away with it to not get away with it for a long period of time and get hurt by other people because, the communities are allowed to communicate now.
That's right. Yeah, Google, look at Google reviews. Look how great yours are. Look how, how hard we all work to make sure that they have a great positive experience. Mm-hmm. And I think that does go a long way. You can't get away from that now. Yeah. It's out there. If you screw up or you do something that's not right, it's going to come back on you. And I think that's how it should be, right? And
one of the best things I love about Google reviews is when we get a bad one once in a while, right? Like it's always from an unpleasable client.
Yep, that's
right?
fair.
It's just it's from we're never going to do something wrong to the
from
point
Karen.
Of from a Karen. And the reason I say it like that is because when someone's got a 5-star across the board and this and that, and they kind of you don't understand that sometimes you get a bad review. And it's what you do with that bad review. It's how you react to that. It's how you make it right. I think it's so critical. And I find in the industry, people suck sometimes.
That's right, yeah. And you know what, to that point too, you're absolutely right. You get a bad review, I have them, and then you see how it gets responded to, and that's what actually shows the true character of it.
Totally.
And we've had people say, your reviews are great, and even how you handled this one was fantastic, and that's why we went with you. just being real, being a real company, being a real person, and that goes a long way. No different than if you screw up a job. It's not about the fact that you screwed it up. Mistakes are going to happen. It's how you approach it. Hey, listen, we made a mistake. We screwed this up, but how can we make it better for you?
Totally.
We're going to make sure that it's right for you. And you call us a week later, we're still going to be there to make sure that it's right for you. And I think that's the biggest. What becomes real and what's, big corporation per se.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference of where I have my business right now, is that I'm a sole part of it.
Yeah.
And when these minor things happen, it still comes to me, and I'll pick up the phone and I'll call on behalf of the team. It doesn't necessarily have to be Brooke in the office who takes all the calls. I'll step up and say, hey, look, we screwed up, we overbooked you, and that's on me. What can we do to make sure that it's right, and we take care of that for you?
Totally.
And I think as any business owner that you should never be afraid to jump in and do that part of any aspect of your business. Go and dropping off a furnace to somebody. That's just as much my job as signing the check as answering that phone, right?
Yeah, it's such a great mentality to have, man. It's huge, and a lot of people. I mean, I got caught in it too before, trying to get out of that and trying to say no. I gotta create this, but having that ability to jump in. So you talked about family and your partner being at work. How do you balance your personal life and work life, or is that something you kind of try to do? Or
I thought about that. I actually called Sarah on the drive over here, thinking about that one there, because just being very, very honest and really real, it has become difficult in some aspects.
Yeah.
Because you wake up that day with that person, then you drive into work that day with that person, and you do your work, and you go home and you try to not take it home with you. But sometimes it happens, right? Sometimes you can't get away from it. The family dinner with my parents, sometimes you dive back to work, and it does become challenging to separate the two. But I think one thing that we're trying to do now is put the phones away at dinner time. That's it, the phone's down. And I think that's a big thing, is taking work's important, but discussing other aspects of all life is a key too. And you got to make sure you divide those two up, and leave one at one place and start one at the other place.
Yeah, I love that. A guest previous on the show, she was talking about having the pendulum, which is, it's swinging at all times, right? When work's going hot, you got to go up, you got to get to work. And when family needs your support, you kind of go to family. And I think that kind of happens at different times, right? Whether you're going on a trip, or you're having kids, or someone's sick or ill, or you're just, excited about planning or something.
And to that point too, when things are really, really good, then it comes home really, really good.
Yeah.
And when things get a little bit challenging, then that challenge comes home with you too, right?
Yeah, I love that.
So trying to separate that and making sure that it stays that way it's important.
Yeah.
It's important.
That's great, man. So, going through Dynamic, what are the next steps for you guys? What are you thinking?
We're going to keep trucking the way we are right now. Right now, I think it's not so much about growth and expansion. It's about taking what we have and refining it and dialing in on those things. I see now what a lot of other people do and stepping up in the community, things that you do. It's encouraged me to do the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. We started donating all of our scrap metal to Ugly Mutts.
Oh, wow.
So we take the scrap metal, we redo your air conditioner, we scrap that, we donate it off to this company called Ugly Mutts. They bring dogs over here from overseas, make sure they get all their shots.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then, we'll gift you one, and we'll bring one here in this office, and you take one home with you.
Yeah, no thanks, but okay.
So we started doing that. We joined Hamilton Builders Association.
Yeah.
And, I think we're just going to keep going down that path.
I love that.
Keep rocking and rolling, man.
So you're 34 now. What advice would you give to younger Shawn?
Wear pants that fit. That'd be a big one right off the bat. Wear some pants that would fit.
Yeah.
I would just say, you know what? I made a lot of mistakes, and it actually got me further ahead in life.
Wow.
I would say actually, push yourself to do crazier and dumber things in some aspects of life, and just the mistakes are the best learning, man. If everything went smooth and everything went right, then there'd be no growth. So I think I would just continue down on that path, and that's what I would be doing.
I love that, man. Well, listen, guys. Shawn, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
It's an absolute pleasure. Dynamic, they're everywhere. What we're going to do is all their links, their bio, everything, all the links to Shawn will be on the platform. Our guy Ty in the back, he's working hard. He's going to clip this thing up and make it special. So
I appreciate you having me, man.
thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. You can check us out on all the socials, YouTube, clips, Instagram, TikTok, all the good stuff. We wouldn't have the show without you guys, but really wouldn't have the show without guys and girls like Shawn. So thanks so much for being on the show.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
It is, eh? It is, baby.